Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to For StarCraft 2 Strategy, your number one location for step-by-step strategy and tutorial videos. Today we're going to be taking a look at a Zerg strategy. Basically we're going to be looking, this is kind of like I posted a strategy earlier about Nydus canaling out of your base into your opponent's base when they block off your front. This is basically the same thing. What you're going to see here is our Protoss opponent. Again, this is a Zerg strategy, and we're going to be playing versus Protoss. Our Protoss opponent drops some cannons at the front of our base, kind of walls us in, forces us to stay in our base more or less, unless we want to throw a ton of money and lose a ton of units into trying to get rid of the cannons that he places at the front of our ramp. It forces us in our base, so our response to that is going to be getting a Nydus Canal or a Nydus Worm into our opponent's base, and just basically pouring units into their base and trying to kill them that way. So we're going to be starting off with the basic stuff here. It's not going to be until we see that wall and that we're going to be deciding to go for that Nydus Worm, but we'll just take a look here at the general strategy. As you can see here for our Protoss player, dropping that pylon at 9, instead of getting that that gateway right after, he's going to actually get in that forge, because again he is planning to force us inside of our base. Now I do want to note here before we get too far into things that the Protoss player, you know, he does a good job, of course, of walling the Zerg player into his base, but he doesn't prepare. It doesn't seem like he's properly prepared for the possibility of a Nydus Worm. Now, coming from a Protoss player's perspective, if you're going to be going for this type of strategy where you're going to be cannoning, is that right? Is that proper pluralization of cannon? If you're going to be putting cannons at the front of their base and kind of walling them in, you need to expect that you're going to be seeing a Nydus Worm. I mean, you are either going to be seeing a Nydus Worm, or you're going to be seeing Overlord drops, or you're going to be seeing a Muta. Either way, you should be watching the corners of your base diligently, because he's obviously not just going to sit in his base all day and just cry. Like, he's going to have a plan, going to be trying to do something. So you need to be prepared if you're going to be going for something like the Protoss player is going for here. Now, you may be thinking at this moment that the Zerg players are a huge dummy for not seeing this, but he actually isn't really, because while that thing's creating, he has little to no vision of what's going on over here. He doesn't see those pylons being dropped right here, so he's not being dumb. He just, you know, he literally just does not have the vision until that hatchery grows a little bit larger or completely spawns. So he is, again, not privy to this information. He's not super dumb. If that's what you were thinking, he's not super dumb. He just couldn't see it. So yeah, as far as what we're going for the build order here, I mean, we started the game off going for that general Zerg opening with that 14 pool, followed by the Extractor. And then we went ahead and we went for that fast hatchery. Again, quick expand, trying to get that economic advantage. Now that this photon cannon's coming up, we're going to be seeing, oh, okay, so I guess I'm walled in my base. And this is the point where we begin that transition. As soon as we get our first 100 gas from this Extractor, we're going to go ahead and transfer this into a Lair. Now, what we actually did here is we canceled that expansion. We're going to be moving our drone up to make it expansion at another point on the map. And, you know, this is another good response. If you do manage to have a drone outside of your base before you get walled in here, like possibly your scouting drone, go ahead and use that to your advantage. Like, he might think that you're forced in your base, but again, with that scouting drone or just having a drone outside of your base, making a hatchery in your natural, you can use it to build a hatchery elsewhere. So there you go. You can still get that economic advantage, and your Protoss player will be none the wiser unless he rescouts all the bases. So yeah, after we saw that wall in, after we saw that we're going to be kind of stuck in our base for some time, because again, trying to kill this is, I don't know, going to be very detrimental. We'd be throwing away so much money because we'd be losing so many units on the path down to get to these photon cannons. So our best bet, honestly, is to take up to a Lair. And again, either go for A, Mutalisk, or B, go for that Nydus Network. And we are going to go for the Nydus Network. That's going to allow us to put the most amount of units in his base the quickest. It's just that Mutalisks are so Vespian intensive, and running off of one base like we are right here, we're really not going to have enough Vespian to properly support enough Mutalisks to be effective. Because honestly, that by the time we move into his base, he could have, you know, more than enough stalkers to deal with any Mutalisk threat. Now, unfortunately, he's, you know, unless he properly prepares for it, where as you can see, our Protoss player isn't really doing. In fact, he doesn't even have one stalker in his base yet. He's just building it now. He's been concentrating on expanding here, trying to take an economic lead because he thinks we're forced to one base. But again, here we are. We have this hatchery here. So what we're doing is we teched up to that layer. As soon as that layer dropped down, we went ahead and we started dropping our Nydus Network. And now once that comes up, we're basically just going to be pouring these Zerglings. We also have one Hydralisk coming out. It'd be nice to have more than one Hydralisk, but that's all we have at the moment. So we're going to be pouring these Zerglings and our one Hydralisk into this Nydus Network, and we're going to be making that Nydus Worm right on the edge of his base, and then just dumping units into his base. And I mean, that's basically what you're going to want to do. And again, unless you want to throw away resources to try to get rid of this wall, your best bet is to go for that Nydus Network, and that's what we'll be showing you here. So we did have the Scouting Overlord in his base. Now, unfortunately, he's not upgraded, so he's incredibly slow moving, and the Stalker does take him out, but we did just go ahead and move another Overlord up, and with the vision from the Overlord on the edge of his base, we're going to start building our Nydus Worm right inside of his base. There it is. So Nydus Worm's coming up. Now the Protoss player is going to know about this. Yes, he just barely sees it. Ideally, we would have wanted to put it here, but I don't know if we fully were aware of that pylon spot once we started creating it. You want to definitely try to put it in the dark locations. So as you can see here, it did pop up, and we're going to be basically pouring these Speedlings and again our one Hydralisk into his base. And there you go. So we're going to be taking out these probes. We took out the one Stalker he had, and he's got two more Stalkers and one more on the way, but that's not enough. We have so many Speedlings and our Hydralisk as well. It's going to be too much for him to handle. Getting a surround on these Stalkers is going to be taking him out pretty handedly. And yeah, that's a good game. So I mean, basically we took advantage of the fact that the Protoss opponent thought that we were completely helpless and thought that we were going to be stuck in our base, and thought he had all the time in the world to expand and get this huge economic advantage and then just overrun us with his economy, but we weren't going to let that happen. We teched straight up to that layer, we got that Nydus Network, spawned it inside of his base, and basically wreaked havoc inside of his base. So taking a look at the basic build order of this strategy, we started with just like the basic opener with that 14 pool followed by Extractor. Then we went ahead and went for that fast expand. After seeing that we were walled into our base, instead of deciding to throw money at it and try to just take it down, we just tech straight up to a layer, got that Nydus Network, got some vision inside of his base, spawned that Nydus Worm, and there you go. So again, guys, this has been 4 StarCraft 2 strategy. If you guys like our videos and you like what we're doing here, please do subscribe to our channel. Keep watching and keep owning.